God of War Ragnarök sold more than 15 million copies across PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 by November 2023. Now Sony is calling God of War Laufey a mainline entry with Faye as the playable lead. That is not a harmless experiment inside a forgotten side series. It is a creative gamble inside a proven modern blockbuster. Today, we are asking whether Santa Monica is expanding the franchise intelligently or testing how much change its audience will tolerate. Ultimately, this breakdown will separate artistic ambition, commercial risk, legitimate criticism, sexist trolling, and claims unsupported by evidence. Most importantly, we will reach a verdict based on confirmed information instead of pretending an unfinished game has already passed review. Gamers spent weeks preparing for the battle of Western civilization, and Deborah Ann Woll defeated them by not opening social media. During Florida SuperCon, a fan approached Woll at an autograph signing and mentioned misogynistic comments surrounding God of War Laufey. Asked about the hostility, Woll said avoiding social media helped and that she felt totally unbothered because she believed the game was great. Nothing about that exchange resembled a Sony press conference, corporate manifesto, or organized damage control campaign. Instead, one fan offered support, one actor answered briefly, and the internet constructed a summit between an autograph and a photograph. Kotaku reported the moment on July 15th, giving commentary channels fresh fuel for a controversy already producing identical thumbnails. Before discussing the reaction, the basic casting facts need cleaning because several popular claims are simply wrong. Deborah Ann Woll was not newly hired to replace another performer after executives decided Kratos had become politically inconvenient. Previously, she portrayed Faye through voice and performance capture in God of War Ragnarök. Santa Monica is therefore promoting an established performer from a supporting role into the lead of a new mainline game. Returning to an existing character is not replacement casting, although outrage merchants keep presenting it like a hostile corporate acquisition. Years earlier, Cory Barlog showed Woll concepts for a Faye-led project, placing its origins around the development of God of War 2018. Sony presented roughly 20 minutes of footage, enough to question the direction but nowhere near enough to judge the complete experience. Nobody can responsibly judge full progression, enemy variety, pacing, technical performance, value, or the finished story from that material alone. Laufey begins after Faye's funeral, when she awakens in the Everywhen, an afterlife connected to gods and magic from multiple mythologies. Meanwhile, Faye must navigate hostile gods, restore disrupted magic, and find a path back to the family she left behind. Crucially, the story runs alongside the events of God of War 2018, rather than simply replacing them. Its timeline lets Santa Monica revisit mysteries, clues, and unanswered parts of the Norse saga through Faye's perspective. Combat emphasizes speed, precision, aerial movement, flowing attacks, soul powers, and momentum instead of copying Kratos' heavier rhythm. Accordingly, Santa Monica says the design mixes Greek-era fluidity with the closer storytelling and world-building of the Norse games. Officially, the studio describes this approach as taking creative swings while remaining faithful to the central pillars of God of War. Creatively, that goal makes sense because Faye would be pointless if she moved, fought, and sounded exactly like Kratos. Commercially, the change carries weight because Kratos remains the face casual buyers connect with the title. Millions of customers are being asked to follow a mainline God of War where its most recognizable hero is not playable. Central to the story is that conflict, not whether Woll's digital face passes inspection from an internet dating committee. Franchises need change to avoid repetition, but they also need continuity so audiences recognize what they are buying. Effectively, Laufey tests how far Santa Monica can stretch the brand while preserving brutal combat, exploration, spectacle, and family drama. Calling the game mainline raises pressure because that label promises scale, importance, and consequences beyond a smaller side adventure. Ragnarok's 15 million benchmark does not automatically become Laufey's sales target because no budget or internal forecast is public. One week result probably would not destroy Santa Monica Studio, so claims about literal corporate survival would be melodramatic. However, disappointing sales could decide whether Sony funds more mainline entries led by characters other than Kratos. Failure could teach executives the laziest lesson imaginable, even if price, marketing, scope, timing, or quality caused the problem. Kratos is absent as the playable lead, and many fans wanted the next major release to continue his journey directly. Pricing matters because a focused bridge can feel attractive at a lower cost and disappointing at full premium price. Release timing also matters because audiences may view the project as expansion or as a delay before another Kratos adventure. Frank, the earnest cosmic cube voiced by Jack Quaid, creates another fair concern about whether comedy matches the established tone. None of those arguments prove hatred of women, and dismissing them only protects Sony from normal consumer scrutiny. Missing Kratos does not require paperwork at the Ministry of Misogyny, and disliking a talking cube is not gender violence. Still, normal criticism does not erase misogynistic and appearance-based comments appearing beside it. Such attacks shift attention from Woll's performance and the game's design toward whether strangers approve of how she looks. Worse, that noise makes legitimate concerns about price, scope, tone, and Kratos easier for defenders to dismiss. This distinction matters commercially because Sony needs useful feedback, not a bonfire built from insults and counter-insults. Complaints about value structure or combat may reveal possible sales problems. Personal attacks reveal nothing about the product. Elsewhere, one group asks why Kratos is missing, while another grades whether a dead giant warrior looks sufficiently attractive. Earlier, Woll described Faye's story through parenthood, regret, personal change, failure, and preparing a family for loss. She argued that players of any gender could understand those themes because grief and responsibility belong to everyone. Importantly, that position does not demand automatic praise, excuse weak writing, or make a female protagonist immune from criticism. Rather, it explains the artistic goal: use another established family member to examine universal problems from a different perspective. Woll also accepted that Laufey might not be everyone's cup of tea, which leaves room for ordinary differences in taste. Then she argued that, in her judgment, the game was not bad in any universe. Actors regularly believe in projects that fail, just as hostile commenters regularly condemn games they have never touched. Online anger survives through replies, screenshots, reaction videos, quote posts, and strangers returning hourly for another swing. Trolls need recognition, defenders need villains, channels need clips, platforms need engagement, and advertisers need emotional captivity. Consequently, both sides kept performing without the central participant, proving modern culture warfare can function without its declared victim. Automated outrage no longer requires disagreement because silence, assumptions, recycled clips, and familiar thumbnails can manufacture conflict. Making another generic recap adds little except louder narration, longer metaphors, and another red arrow pointing at Woll's face. And the stronger argument is that the culture war buried Sony's actual gamble under a cheaper argument about women leading action games. Ironically, Woll's confidence cannot prove the gamble succeeds, while sexist comments cannot prove it fails. Evidence currently confirms PlayStation 5 mainline status, Faye as the lead, the everyone setting, and a standalone experience. Official material also confirms fluid combat, aerial movement, mixed mythologies, 2 unusual companions, soul powers, and expanded Norse mysteries. Separately, Santa Monica has confirmed that God of War Laufey will be available on a physical disc. Presently, PlayStation lists the release date as undetermined, permits wishlisting, and says pre-orders will open closer to launch. No PC version has been announced, and no official price, edition list, exact length, or final performance targets are available. Although many observers expect a 2027 launch, expectation remains speculation until Sony provides a date. Later, Woll said Faye is leading this new direction for a while, and that the franchise's other direction will continue. Therefore, that statement weakens claims that Sony permanently erased Kratos, although it confirms no date for his playable return. Waiting for evidence sounds boring when every trailer must save gaming or murder it before lunch. Judge combat when longer demonstrations reveal enemy behavior, weapon depth, difficulty, camera control, and aerial responsiveness. Examine writing when complete scenes show whether Faye carries a satisfying arc, or mainly prepares future Kratos stories. Measure value when Sony announces price, editions, expected scope, and what content actually ships on the confirmed disc. Test performance when reviewers compare frame rate, resolution, loading, bugs, stability, and accessibility on retail hardware. Watch sales after launch because commercial success depends on customers following the franchise beyond its established hero. Until then, the current verdict can be firm without pretending the final game has already been reviewed. Based on confirmed evidence, Laufey is a legitimate creative expansion with real franchise risk, not a random replacement project. Artistically, Santa Monica has explained the new lead, distinct combat, concurrent timeline, story purpose, and effort to preserve series identity. Financially, Sony has not proved that a mainline God of War without playable Kratos can attract blockbuster demand. Socially legitimate doubts exist, while attacks on Woll's appearance or gender contribute nothing to evaluating the product. Consumers receive no order to love the direction, and they retain every right to question Santa Monica's choices. Honest analysis can hold two ideas together without collapsing under the intellectual pressure of basic adult thought. Fans may miss Kratos while recognizing Faye was established, planned early, and performed by the same actor. Reviewers may criticize comedy, pacing, combat structure, or price without declaring female leadership automatically destructive. Supporters may welcome expansion without claiming every doubtful customer secretly hates women or fears emotional storytelling. Creators may report harassment without turning a convention autograph exchange into Sony's declaration of cultural war. Fundamentally, artistic change must eventually attract enough buyers to justify mainline costs and expectations. Simultaneously, corporate caution cannot become an excuse to repeat Kratos forever until the franchise resembles expensive tax software. Everyone wants a villain because villains make cleaner thumbnails than uncertainty, planning, market positioning, and ordinary differences in taste. Corporately, Sony wants excitement. Angry channels want collapse, defensive channels want persecution, and trolls want attention. Personally, Woll believes the result is strong and seems willing to let the finished game answer for her. Maybe reviews validate the gamble, or perhaps design, pricing, and scope expose an expensive miscalculation. Either outcome should depend on combat, writing levels, performance, value, and market response rather than tribal loyalty. For now, the actress believes in her game, trolls believe in their thumbnails, and Sony believes the brand can survive change. Finally, everyone else can wait for the product, examine the evidence, and decide whether Laufey represents bold expansion or costly confusion.